we have some really bad habits that we're gonna have to break before we get into an RV. These habits, if we continue them into RV life, we're not gonna be able to go anywhere and stay on the road for any period of time because these are really bad habits that we have to break.
You know, moving into RV isn't just about downsizing. It's about getting rid of your bad habits. And a lot of the habits we have, we don't even think them through. These are just things we do.
That's why they're habits.
Yeah, I mean, these are just things that we do on autopilot.
Yeah.
You know, we don't even stop and question what we're doing. We need to change these because we're going to be in a very small space. We're not going to have the flexibility and freedom and luxuries that we do in our home. And we need to make things happen differently.
It's going to be very dramatic for us. And it's just something that I've been thinking about consciously as I go about my day-to-day life, because I'm trying to visualize and picture what it's going to actually be like in RV life. So now I'm very hyper aware of these bad habits. And I'm like, I better fix this real fast before we put ourselves into 390 square feet of a tiny space that doesn't have the luxuries of a house with plumbing and electricity and all of these things at our disposal. We are in the process of downsizing and selling our home to move into an RV full time. We put together our 5 worst habits that we need to fix before we get into an RV. Stay tuned until the end of the video because tip number 5 is actually the number 1 bad habit that we're going to have to break that I seriously think could be the breaking factor of taking us off the road permanently down the road. I could just see this being a huge problem for us because it's something we're so used to. I honestly don't know right now how we're going to be able to break this habit before we sell our house and get into an RV on the road.
These are habits that are just ingrained in us and we've taken them for granted for many years. So this is going to be a huge shift.
Bad habit number 1 is our careless water use. Now, we both do this, but we both do it in different ways. And so why don't you share what your careless water use is?
So I wash dishes and I just have like lots of different pots and pans, just, you know, with running water soaking for extended periods of time. So yeah, I don't know how I'm going to overcome this.
You also, this is one that you forgot that maybe you're not even aware of that you do, that I'd be happy to point out for you. But you also do laundry like every day and you will wash like 1 shirt and 1 pair of shorts.
Hey, I'm a runner. So
I don't think that's going to fly.
Yeah, I mean, this is not going to
life.
work, but I mean, I'm a runner. So I naturally have a lot of sweaty clothes. I'm running every day. There's certain clothes that I only like to wear.
Yeah.
Of course, in the RV, we're not going to be able to bring a ton of clothes. Like we've already, you know, cut back and downsized a lot of our clothing. So yeah, I mean, it's funny to think we originally were debating whether we were going to get a laundry setup in the RV or just go to laundromats. And so now that you pointed that out, I'm pretty sure we need some sort of laundry facility.
I think so. And I'll just have to say, I do appreciate the fact that you wash your clothes and wear clean clothes and you don't smell like a sweaty runner all the time. That's really nice.
Thank you.
Awesome.
See, I'm considerate as well.
It is considerate, yeah. But that is kind of the fine line too of having too many clothes versus having to do laundry more frequently. So it is a little bit of a trade-off when you're minimalizing your closet and downsizing your stuff. And especially if you have really favorite workout or running clothes or whatever, you have favorite items you want to wear on a regular basis, you're going to have to do laundry more frequently. So that's just something that I knew that you were going to have a hard time with because I know that you do laundry like every day.
That's right. So now let's switch gears here and let's talk about the water habit that you have.
So my worst water habit is letting the water run when I brush my teeth. And I know it's something that is so ridiculous and so petty because I feel like children are aware of this. Like you always hear parents telling their children not to do this, but like I have done this my entire life and it's just a really bad habit that I have. And I let it run the entire time. So I have a water flosser, an electric toothbrush, and the whole time I'm using both, the water is just running out of the tap.
So brush your teeth like this, it's like pouring down her hand into the sink, the whole thing. I walk around with my toothbrush. Isn't that more common?
I don't know how you do that. Like,
what do you guys do? Leave a comment. Let us know how you brush your teeth. Is this normal? Am I normal? Is she normal?
Yeah.
What's normal?
Normal is in the eyes of the beholder, I think. I am the world's messiest toothbrusher. I don't know how you say that. Most people wouldn't say that, but I am. It goes everywhere. There's water everywhere. The water's running. So like, we want to do a lot of boondocking, which is camping in the middle of nowhere where you don't have
Bring your own water.
access. Yeah, you don't have access to continuous flow of water and continuous electricity. You have to have solar power or a generator for electricity. And you have to go and get your own water in like this tub thing and then bring it and pump it into your trailer. It's a lot of extra work to have to do. And so we'll have to learn how to be more mindful about our water usage. Number two, that is going to be a problem for us if we don't change this habit before we get into an RV, is that we are very spontaneous travelers. So we don't like to do a whole lot of planning. We don't like to do a whole lot of research. We like to just
figure it out,
go and kind of stop where we want to. If I see a cute downtown area and I want to go like check out the shops there or get a bite to eat, I want to just be able to pull over and stop wherever I want. Starbucks, if I'm feeling like I want an extra caffeine boost in the middle of my day, we're just like, let's just take the next exit and go to Starbucks, right? But
exactly.
Why can't we do that with our RV?
So we're going to be getting a really large fifth wheel, and we're going to have a dually truck to tow this fifth wheel. So yeah, I mean, it's not just going to be a situation where we can just go to some downtown Starbucks with zero parking and
with
very
a ginormous truck and trailer.
It's just not going to work, right? So we're going to need to plan all this stuff. There's very specific things that we're going to need to account for. We're not going to be able to do these long day road trips that, 10, 12 hours, because we're going to have to drive much slower as well. The majority of the driving is going to have to be, in the trucker lane and going slow and going the speed limit.
Which will be hard for you.
That's no fun.
But seriously, though, it's very hard for us to get into that mindset of having to pre-plan everything, because even planning on making reservations for RV parks, because they only have so many spaces, and not every RV park has a spot as big as the one that we want to get. So we have to be extra vigilant, extra mindful of that, because if we're not careful, we could run out of gas. We could run into some really crappy situations because our RV is so tall too. It has to go into gas stations that can fit big trucks. Like it's the size of a transport truck, basically. So we need to make sure that we plan our route so that we fill up gas in time, so that we're not just stuck at, I want to say a residential gas station, but like one that's just for cars, right? So we have to really plan every stop, including the coffee stops, including, I guess luckily we can use our own bathroom while we're on the road. So that's a bonus.
But basically what she's saying is we got to stick to a schedule. And Rebecca hates schedules.
I'm not a schedule person. I just like to be a free spirit. I like to just stop where I want to, enjoy the ride, but we're going to really have to crack down on that and break that habit. Habit number 3 is one that we're both very guilty of, and it is being messy. I wouldn't say that we are like super, super messy, like we're probably a little bit tidier than the average person, but there's certain things in certain areas that we are both very messy with, and we're going to have to be more mindful about that in a smaller space, because even if you just leave something out on the counter for a little period of time, it's going to feel more cluttered in a smaller space. I absolutely just know that.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. So if you think about your home, you can kind of throw some clothes in the corner
or tuck it in the closet or under your bed, like when you were 5.
Yeah, so you can leave kind of dishes here and there. And I mean, it's not really the end of the world. When you're in a very small, confined space, you could be tripping over this stuff. To your point, something on the counter could be like one of your only 2 or 3 counters that you have available. And that's the last thing you want to walk into each time you go into a living space. And so we got to be mindful of that with every little thing. It's almost like we have to clean every day when, I mean, let's be real. We certainly weren't cleaning every day before.
No, definitely not. Maybe now that our house is for sale and we're, in between showings and stuff, that part's a little bit annoying, but actually I think it's preparing us for RV life pretty well. For me, the messiest thing that I do is a lot of women, we change our clothes, maybe sometimes multiple times, and just leave them out in the closet or in the bathroom. I kind of I lay them over the bathtub and just, around. So I leave my clothes out. For me, I like to do a lot of art, so painting and different art things. So I will, when I'm in a creative zone, I leave all my stuff spread all over the place, because I just want it to be where it is when I come back to it, so I can pick up where I left off. And that's not going to be an option in RV life, because We are going to be like switching over spaces quite often. So we're hoping to get one with a toy hauler space so I can use it as my office, as a home gym, as an art room, as whatever we need to flip it into. But because we'll be flipping it into different usages so often, then I'm going to need to clean up after every single time I use it. So
Exactly. So there's nothing worse than walking into a room that just looks completely disheveled, right? And so maybe at home now, there could be some dishes around the counters and we can just make another meal and not worry about the previous meal and just clean it up all at once. But you don't want to be walking into your entire space completely overrun, such as the kitchen, when you're just trying to cook a meal. So we need to be mindful of this.
And too, Chad's desk is going to be, his working space is going to be in the bedroom. So again, he's going to need to clean up his office space, put his chair away, put all of his equipment away before, coming out for dinner and before we carry on with our evening, because when we go to bed, we're going to need to want to go in there to a nice clean environment.
Exactly. I'm not going to want to walk into our bedroom with, laptops and cords and all this kind of stuff. So just little things like that, completely different habits we need to break that you wouldn't have to think about when living at home.
Yeah, because we're not going to have rooms for everything specifically. So it's like one of those situations we have to clean it up, put it away, and then we can use the room for something else. Habit number 4 is sneaky overconsumption habits. And now this is something that we've really been working on together over the last few years to declutter, to downsize, to minimalize all of our belongings and all of our things. But this is something that we need to be even more mindful of getting into a smaller space and into RV life, because right now we're so used to things that actually make sense in a consumption way. Like think of Costco trips where we get bulk of things that save money and save time for multiple trips, but we're not going to have anywhere to store those things.
Exactly. I mean, you think about when you go to Costco and you buy like a pack of paper towel and that takes up your whole cart, and that would take up like a room in the RV. So we're not going to be able to do that anymore. You have to be very mindful. So, luckily Rebecca and I have been working on becoming more minimalistic over the last couple of years. So we've really, trained this. We don't just mindlessly shop at Amazon or buy knick-knacky things. So we've at least done that in that sense, but it's something to be mindful of. And when it comes to consumption for me, the really difficult thing is definitely going to be eating out. I love food. I'm an athlete. I'm always hungry. I'm always, looking for my next meal. And so naturally being on the road, especially in the US with wonderful restaurants, it's very tempting to be like, hey, why don't we just not cook and just drive to this, nice dive that's, rated 5-star. And these are things we're gonna have to be thinking of.
Yeah, and we do love to do that as well. And I'm sure we will do that occasionally. But it's something that we have to be particularly mindful of, because when you know what your personal weak areas are, you want to be extra vigilant about them. Extra vigilant. So eating out is something that we have to be mindful of, just because we are very passionate about health and wellness, and it's really not that healthy to eat out at restaurants very frequently. But also too, when you're traveling, it's more tempting because you're tired, you're driving, you don't really want to cook. And also you're like, I'm in the area and I want to try this new restaurant. So.
Yeah, exactly. The moment you've been waiting for, last but not least, very important, number 5 is our wellness routine. So for me, I'm a big athlete, and at our home right now, I have a cold plunge, I have a sauna, I have an indoor pool, I have a hot tub, and I realize most people may not have those things, but for me, it's very important because they're part of my active recovery, wellness routine. And we're not going to have any of these things in the RV. And this has been one of the hardest things for me to let go of. And for you, it may be different. Maybe your self-care routine involves all these things that you do around your house that you're just not naturally going to have those amenities in an RV. What about for you?
Yeah, and I mean, same for me. Like if I think about, hot tub, sauna, not really the cold plunge for me. That's not really my vibe. I don't know why.
She hates it.
It's just uncomfortable. Those things are really, really prevalent in my daily routine, and also having a bathtub, which I know you can get rigs with bathtubs, but they're very far and few between, and the one that we really want doesn't have one. So that's going to be a huge sacrifice for me, because I love just relaxing in the bathtub. I'm so used to it now. It's like an unwinding self-care thing at the end of the day. And so, coming to terms with letting go of these things, these were things that were really preventing us from the idea of pursuing the RV lifestyle for so long, because we were like, well, what would we do with our self-care and our wellness routine that we've created, right? Because we've renovated our house all around our wellness routines. And the idea of not having these things now that we're so used to them is very challenging and emotionally painful.
It's tough. But I mean, here's the thing. You're naturally going to have sacrifices with anything you do in life. But as long as the pros outweigh the cons, I think that's what matters most.
Yeah.
And if we think about all the beautiful things of RV living, being in nature, stepping right out front, a new environment all the time, having the freedom, the flexibility, not restricted to all these societal things that you have minimal control over, like that just outweighs a few sacrifices that we got to make.
That's right? Really what we came to the conclusion of, is that you have to weigh the pros and the cons and decide if what you're trading is going to be worth what you're pursuing. And I think it's so important to sit down and actually think about those things so that you can feel good and feel confident in the decision that you're making, because these things are really hard for us to let go of. Yeah. The whole point of RV life is to create more freedom, more time for what you actually enjoy doing, being outside more and enjoying some travel along the way. In order for us to do that and to pursue that lifestyle, we have to break these habits. And I think it's really smart of us to think of these habits and just start working on breaking them now while we are in our home, so that it doesn't feel so challenging once we actually get into the RV life.
Absolutely. A great tip is always, act like you're in that lifestyle now, so that it's much easier when the time comes.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to know what pushed us to actually make this decision and take this leap of faith, and you want to know a little bit about our story, where we come from and where we are headed, then go and watch our very first video that we've done on our YouTube channel. And we get into all the details, tell you a little bit about how we came to this conclusion and how we actually made the decision to cut the cord and put our house for sale. Go and watch our first video.
Yeah, it's a whole background of how it all started, how it came to be, leading up to where we are now. So go check it out.
What are some really bad habits that you have had to break if you have moved into an RV full time, or that you think would be really challenging for you to break? Let us know in the comments below, because maybe there's some things that you guys know that we don't know and we haven't even considered yet.
Exactly. I mean, we've been used to these habits for so many years, and it's going to be a big shift.
I am the world's messiest toothbrusher.
Teeth brusher.